If your dream is to publish your book with a Big 5 publishing house, then it's important for you to know what actually happens after you get that coveted book deal. Will your author career become everything that you dreamt it would be, or will there be some unexpected hurdles and obstacles you have to face along the way? As a former literary agent assistant and an editorial employee at Penguin Random House, I bring my insights from the front lines of the traditional publishing industry to help educate aspiring authors on what they can expect. It's an industry that can often feel opaque and mysterious, so I want to open up the curtains and give you some more insight into how it works. Today I'm going to talk about what it's actually like for you as an author once you get a book deal with a major publishing house. The good and the bad and the hard truths. I am all about empowering authors to make the most of their publishing journey no matter what it looks like. So if you are at all interested in publishing, I recommend subscribing to my channel if you haven't already. Every week, I either post videos with publishing industry insights like this one, or I talk about tactical ways to strengthen your manuscript. So if any of that interests you, please join this amazing community. Before you forget, head down into the description to grab my free story self-assessment worksheet. This is a fun, easy quiz designed to help you evaluate your story in its current form and see how you could potentially take it to the next level. Downloading that is going to sign you up for my newsletter where I interview publishing industry experts and published authors. So if you are interested in more insights from the front lines of the publishing industry, that is a great resource. You can also go straight to the newsletter via the link below. So let's talk about the first insight I want you to understand about being an author at a Big 5 publishing house, and that's that you still have to revise your book. So before you got a literary agent, you likely went through extensive edits, either on your own or with a beta reader, critique partner, or even a professional editor. Then, once you signed with your agent, you likely did a bit more developmental work to make sure that the manuscript was as strong as possible before presenting it to publishers. So if you hate the revision process, I'm sorry to say that even once you sign the book deal, you're still gonna go through more edits. And these are going to be led by the editor at the publishing house who led the acquisition of your book. Now, I hope it helps quell your concerns to know that even the most high-profile, best-selling authors still go through major edits with their editors. Personally, I worked with several New York Times bestselling authors who were decades into their career, and they were still working with their editors, going through comments and markups just like any other author would. These edits are often of the developmental variety, not just copy edits and proofreading. But remember that it's all in the interest of creating the strongest version of your story possible. You and your editorial team and your agent all want to ensure that your story, which is so amazing and that they love, resonates with as many readers as possible. So know that the edits are coming ultimately from a place of love and support. So the earlier that you embrace revisions as a necessary but admittedly hard part of your process, the better you will be positioned to be a successful author. I truly believe revisions are where the magic really happens. If you're looking for some tips on how to approach revisions, I have a whole other video that goes into 3 strategies to use, so check that out. The next bit of insight I want to talk about is that as a traditionally published author, you actually will not know the marketing budget for your book. I know that authors who are new to the industry are very concerned about the marketing for their book, and that is completely valid. The way that it works at a Big 5 house is that publishers divide the books that they have acquired into lists based on the season in which they're going to be released. So for instance, they are going to look at all of the titles for fall 2023 and then allocate their marketing budget for the fall 2023 list based on how they think certain books are going to perform. In reality, what often happens here is books that are by well-known authors, best-selling authors, are going to get a larger proportion of the marketing dollars just because they know that the marketing dollars are working, that they put in before. And so sometimes that means that debut authors or books that publishers might be considered mid-list are not getting as much marketing budget. That doesn't mean there is not a robust marketing plan. There always is a detailed marketing plan for every single book put out by a publishing house. But I want to be upfront with you in sharing that You might not have the big splashy Barnes & Noble campaign that a best-selling author who's also published at your time is having. A lot of this is ultimately out of your control. Now, I hope that when you get to that point, your publisher and your team at the publishing house decides that your book is the one they want to put all that marketing spend behind because they think it's going to do really, really well. But the reality is that might not be the case, so I want you to be prepared for it. As a debut author, you can and should absolutely expect marketing and publicity plans from your team, but it may not be everything that you envision or everything that you see other authors getting. Now let's talk about the positive side of being an author at a traditional publisher, which is that it's going to unlock a lot of exciting opportunities for you and your career. One of the biggest pros of opting for traditional publishing rather than self or indie publishing is that it gives you a lot more media coverage opportunities that typically aren't granted to books that are self or indie published. For example, your book could be submitted and chosen for one of the coveted book clubs like Reese Witherspoon's Hello Sunshine Book Club or the Read with Jenna Book Club, which puts a stamp on your book and typically drives a lot of sales. These book clubs are known for skyrocketing debut authors to bestseller status almost instantly. This isn't an opportunity you will likely be able to consider if you self or indie publish. When you are publishing with a traditional publishing house, you are also going to get robust review coverage, maybe even in very prestigious outlets like the New York Times Book Review or Kirkus Reviews. Your agent and publisher will also consider submitting your book to contests that will increase its visibility. And traditionally published books are typically made into other editions, including audiobooks and international editions where your story is translated into another language and then sold into that market. So going the traditional route allows you to reach a larger audience in some cases. And remember, you will get paid for each of the new editions of your book that come out. While we're talking about payments, because I know everyone likes to know about the money side of things, now the truth is that these payments are going to trickle in over a long period of time. So when you make a deal with a traditional publishing house, you will be paid an advance, which is a lump sum that the publisher is offering you for the rights to publish your book. While this sum may be substantial, some authors see 6 figures, high-profile authors see even more than that, the sum is not going to be paid to you up front, which is why most authors cannot live alone off of their advances or quit their day jobs. Also remember that your agent gets 15% of your advance. So once you deduct your agent's percentage, then your advance is typically going to be paid out to you in 4 different installments. The first is on signing the contract. The second is on the publisher's acceptance of your manuscript, and that typically comes after those revisions that we talked about in the beginning of the video with the editor who purchased your book. Once the editor feels it is in a great place and you're ready to push it through production, that is when you're gonna get the next payment. You're gonna get the third payment on publication of the book, which it might be a year or more between those 2 payments. And then finally, you will typically get the 4th payment 1 year after you publish the book or when the next edition, typically the paperback edition, comes out, which is usually around a year later as well. So you can see how those payments are spread out over about 2 or even more years. Then after that point, you will earn royalties on all of the books that are sold. However, at first, the royalties are essentially going to be going back to credit the advance that the publisher already paid you. So you're only going to get royalty checks once you sell enough books to basically make back the investment that the publisher has already paid you. You will never have to pay back the advance, but you're only gonna see royalties if the book essentially earns out the advance. And at that point, if you do earn royalties, you would get those checks on a monthly or quarterly basis. So this long payment timeline is why most authors do still have a day job, and it takes a very long time for you to get to the point where you are able to fully support yourself just on your book income. I have another video that goes into the nuances of book deals and how the finances work, so definitely check that out if you haven't seen it already or want to learn more. My final little insight into what it's like to be a traditionally published author is that others are going to start to look up to you. Once you become a traditionally published author with a Big 5 house, you will be given an unspoken stamp of approval among the writing community. Because this is an extremely difficult thing to achieve, Other authors who are published or unpublished are going to recognize that achievement and see you as somewhat of an authority. For example, many creative writing programs require that their professors publish traditionally before they are able to have a position at the university. It's possible that you could be recruited to speak at conferences or events or workshops, for instance. Having a book published by a Big 5 publisher is almost like joining a inner circle. You're going to get access to people and communities that you may not have otherwise ever been in contact with. And this is obviously only going to increase as your career develops and if your books sell very well. But there's another side of this notoriety that I want to bring up that maybe isn't so exciting. It also means that other friends, other authors, maybe even complete strangers, are going to ask you for favors. That could be a request to blurb another author's book. Traditionally published authors are often inundated with requests to blurb other books that are coming out so that the publisher can put a nice little review by you on the back cover of this other book that's coming out in the hopes of generating more sales. This is something that you typically are expected to do for free, and traditionally published authors often have a whole pile of books that people want blurbed, and you simply are gonna have to decide how many you're actually gonna do. You might be asked to participate or moderate another person's reading or book signing. Other authors will likely ask you for feedback on their manuscript, or even introductions to your literary agent or publisher if they are unpublished themselves. All of these requests can be really overwhelming, especially to newer authors, especially to authors who are introverted. So I want you to set realistic boundaries and know your limits, and don't feel the need to respond to each and every one of these requests because that is quickly going to become unsustainable. I hope this helped you better understand what it's really like to be a traditionally published author and gave you a peek behind the curtain of the industry so you have realistic expectations for what it will be like. Let me know in the comments what questions you have about the traditional publishing process, and also let me know if any of these pieces of insight surprised you at all. I would love to know your reactions. If you're looking for some more insider insight into the publishing industry, check out my video on publishing secrets that most authors don't know about. And if you liked this video, please hit that thumbs up button. It would really help out my channel. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And don't forget your free story self-assessment worksheet and my newsletter link in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and happy writing.